Welcome again to our gardening channel. YouTube has lit a fire under me. They like to get some more content, and so here we go again. I appreciate you tuning in today. Today we're going to cover the topic of milkweed, monarchs, and monarch larvae. So go ahead and grab a cup of coffee. Here's a mug that we designed from our photography of hummingbirds, but of course this video concerns monarch and monarch larvae. By the way, if you'd like a mug like this, $35. If you'd like this t-shirt, my t-shirt showing the green side up and a roll of sod, we can get those to you for $30. Anyways, let me know in the comments about that. Anyhow, so here's the deal. 2.5 years ago, I posted a video about monarchs, monarch larvae, and even has a time-lapse of an adult monarch emerging from a chrysalis right here in my garden. 2.5 years ago, we had a lot of monarchs, a lot of larvae, and a lot of chrysalis, and a lot of adults emerging. However, the last 2 seasons, our monarch larvae and chrysalis have gone to just about zero. We're not having them anymore. And doing some research, we found a possible reason. There's a school of thought and even an article that says that plants, some plants at least, will exude or emit a substance after they've been fed on by something that then discourages future feeding. A great example of this is found in the article, which I'll post a link to, from the Smithsonian, called "Do Trees Talk to Each Other?" And it talks about on the African savanna, there are acacia trees. There's those big, flat, iconic trees that we see in all the images about the trees in the African savanna. And they are foraged on by giraffes. Well, what these trees do, and it's amazing, it really is amazing, these trees then emit, after they've been chewed on, emit something called ethylene gas. That's kind of a common product that plants do emit for various reasons. You can read up on that. But the ethylene gas discourages discourages the giraffes from feeding on the trees, and to the point where they emit this ethylene gas, which then drifts downwind to other trees and protects them. So it's, in other words, the trees kind of talk to each other. The trees that are emitting the gas after being fed on emit ethylene gas, that drifts down to nearby trees and then protects them. But here's the fascinating part of this. That ethylene gas is designed to discourage giraffes. And the giraffes know this, according to the article. Again, I'm putting a link to that here in the description. The giraffes know this, so when they feed here, what they do is they feed upwind in the direction the wind is coming from, so that they're not downwind from the drifting ethylene gas, and the trees that they're feeding on are not downwind from the ethylene gas. So we're wondering if our milkweeds here did something similar. Did they emit something after being chewed on, which then discourages future generations of monarch larvae from feeding on them? Again, our monarch larvae the last 2 years have dropped to just about zero. And I think we found a solution to that. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But it's a very curious idea that plants and trees, well, we don't know, but the acacia trees in Africa emit ethylene, which then drifts, which then discourages giraffes. Giraffes don't like to eat on those trees. But the giraffes know this, so they feed upwind so that the trees that they go to next don't know about this. Very, very remarkable stuff. So I'll start showing you around my garden and the milkweed that we have here now. We replanted all of ours, and I'll explain more about that in the scenes coming up. So please stay with us, and please like and subscribe our videos. It helps us a lot. We really appreciate it. And also, any questions you have, put those in the comments, and I will answer you as soon as I can. Okay, so stay with us. At our home, which is a condominium in the East Lake neighborhood of Chula Vista, California, we can only plant in containers. And so that's what we do. We have a lot of containers around here, and that's just fine with our HOA. In these 2 containers right here, until just recently, we were growing Asclepias tuberosa, the butterfly weed. And they thrived, and they did well. and they attracted monarchs. We could see the monarchs feeding on the flowers and so forth. But this year and last year, we've had no larvae. So that was our idea, was that the older plants somehow emit something that discourages future generations of larvae from feeding. So we took those tuberosa out and planted these, Asclepias speciosa. I don't know if you can see that. If you can see that, there's the tag from Asclepias speciosa is what's here now in these two containers. If you look closely too, you can see behind these plants we have some peppers growing. You see that pepper right there? I'll zoom in on that in a second. If you look closely behind our Asclepias speciosa milkweed, we have this container with peppers in it. There's 3 or 4 different plants in there, and we're getting a really nice crop of peppers. Here you can see one pepper coming on. There's another one there. We're starting to harvest them already. Another one here that's starting to ripen up, and even another one back here. I don't know if you can see it or not. That's ripening up really nice. So let me remove these leaves, see them better. Can you see that better now? There it is. I guess I'll get rid of one more leaf or two. Here we go. Okay, that should be visible now, huh? See that pepper there? How nice that's ripening up? So we're getting a nice crop of peppers. That has nothing to do with monarchs or milkweed. It's just something that we do here. In this container, right here, are 2 more Asclepias speciosa that we planted here. This container formerly had the Asclepias tuberosa, the butterfly weed, until just a few weeks ago, and again we took those out. We have crows nearby too. You can probably hear that. And as you can see, I planted it right around the middle of August. They've grown a lot in the last few weeks, and they're not flowering yet, and we're not getting any monarch larvae yet. But hopefully that'll change, and we'll get some soon. Right next to that is our Buddleia plants, butterfly flowers, which we like those, and they're growing. They're nothing to do with monarchs really. Well, I mean, the adults might come, but it's not about the feeding of the larvae. This we hope the larvae will feed on these Asclepias speciosa soon, and get us started on that again. In these 4 containers, these terracotta containers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we removed all of our existing narrowleaf milkweed a few weeks ago, Asclepias fascicularis, and replanted with all brand new ones. Again, we're worried that the older plants might be exuding something that discourages future generations of larvae from feeding. So these 4 containers all have brand new planted narrowleaf Asclepias fascicularis, and they're doing really well. They've grown probably double in size in the last few weeks. We planted them mid-August, and here it is early September, and they're really thriving. We don't have any monarch larvae yet, but our count of adult monarchs has dropped way down drastically since the 1st of August. Before that, like in previous summers, we had many adult monarchs flitting through our garden. I could see as many as 10 at a time coming through here. By the way, I'm going to link to my earlier video about this in the description here, so you can watch my video from 2 years ago of these plants and of different plants in these pots with all the monarch larvae, several monarch larvae, several chrysalis, and then I have that time lapse of an adult emerging right here. So be sure to click on that, and you can watch that video as well. It's getting a lot of good reviews. In our garden, in the East Lake neighborhood in Chula Vista, California, we did keep these narrowleaf milkweed, Asclepias fascicularis. These were planted a few years ago in the ground. Where we live, we probably shouldn't be planting too many things in the ground according to our HOA rules. However, so far, we're getting away with these. I put little monarch garden ornaments in there, and I don't know if that does anything, but anyway, we're going to leave these. All these narrowleaf, they go dormant in the wintertime, and I've got to be cut back anyway. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut these back right away, and then we'll wait for them to spring up next spring. We'll see what happens. I don't know if these are giving up any substance that discourages monarch larvae. The jury is still out on that. And by the way, if you know anything about that, if you have an article or a website that we can consult, please let us know. I have looked and looked and looked and can't find one that specifically addresses the idea of milkweed giving us something after being chewed on by monarch larvae that discourages future generations of monarch larvae from coming. So if you have something about that, please let us know in the comments. Here is one last image of our Asclepias. We retained this one Asclepias tuberosa, the butterfly weed. It was growing as an offset in the same container as the adult tuberosa were, which when I removed those, I found this little guy here, and a tiny little tuber about an inch long and a stem coming up. The stem has probably tripled in size in the last month since I replanted it. We're going to keep this one and see what happens. It's doing okay now, still a little spindly. The stem's not real strong, that's why that support stake's there. But we'll see what happens with this one. I don't know. Again, I'm not totally certain about this whole idea of Asclepias emitting something that discourages future generations, so we're going to have to find out about that. We'll finish this video up with kind of a tour of our garden, our front yard, our front patio. Anyway, these two containers have succulents in them. That is really easy to do as long as you don't get pricked. And but these things are very, very much set and forget plants. You really get them in they don't need much water, very little fertilizer, and as you can see how they're thriving. It really, really, really is a wonderful way to do container gardens if you live where we do in a warm area. If you live in a colder area, you can bring them indoors in the wintertime and put them in a sunny location and bring them back out in the spring. I did that for my grandson who lives in the Chicago suburbs. There's a video here about that. And anyways, you can try that. We like doing it here. In the second container, I have zoomed in on this agave blue glow. This plant is really spectacular. All of the leaves have this little darker margin, which if you get some sunlight, some backlighting, some sunlight come from behind, these margins grow like neon. It's really something to see. That's why we like this plant. Where it's located in our garden, we don't get too much of it. I have to actually carry it out and put it in the sunlight. But anyways, that's what this plant does. As you can see, it's thriving here. It was probably 1/3 the size when I planted it a couple of years ago. This is the agave blue glow, but now backlit by sunlight, so you can see the red margins. See how it glows like red neon almost? That is why we like this plant. This is another one of our special succulent and cactus, succulent in this case, container planter, this rectangular box. We planted this 2 or 3 years ago. It's thriving, as you can see. And that Asclepias tuberosa that I showed you a moment ago is sitting right here, right next to it. So that's what this does. It gets enough sunlight, almost never needs any water. And again, these things are extremely easy to plant and care for. This container is more succulents. We really fell in love with this. It's called a coral cactus. It's a grafted cactus, but we put it in here. It's doing very well. Here's the issue with that, though. We tried a couple ones before, not knowing that the pot they came in, the grower pot similar to this one, don't have drainage holes. And we watered it and they drowned. The roots rotted away. So knowing that, we planted it in this container. It does have drainage, and so it's doing just fine. All these cactus, all these succulents in here are thriving, and it's really, really fun for us to do. Just to the right of the container with the coral cactus, we have 3 pots, 3 containers with peppers growing in them, and they're doing okay. These are small pots, but the plants are thriving. We're even getting peppers. I'll show you those in a moment. You'll need to squint real close, but amongst these 3 potted peppers, I have some coming on. Here's one, my hand's on this one right here. I don't know if you can see that. That's going to be ready to harvest pretty soon, about the size of an apple. Above that and to the right is one that, if you can see it, is starting to ripen up red real nice, and we'll be harvesting that one pretty soon. What are you going to do? They're early on when we planted these, snails attacked these plants. That was back in like April and May. But the snails have kind of gone away, and we're not having a problem anymore. Here is a little more footage from our front patio garden. Again, everything where we live needs to be grown in containers, which is just fine. As you can see, we've flooded our garden with containers, and we love doing that. But out here we have some rosemary. My wife uses that in some of her cooking. We have some aeonium here. Back here we have a cordyline and with some mutations below it. Of course, those pepper plants I showed you earlier. I have two roses. I have a red Chrysler Imperial and a yellow rose. I don't know the variety. They're between blooms right now. When they bloom out, I cut those blooms and bring them in the house for. In addition to the roses, the red and the yellow, we have more impatiens in the container down here, and the butterfly flower, the buddleia. I have kind of a pink one and a purple one here. I have more growing in a container nearby, and we'll get that out here one of these days soon. And so we really enjoy this. The container gardening is a very rewarding way to enrich your garden. It's real easy to you don't dig any holes with shovels. It's all, most of it's done standing up with your bare hands. That's why we like it. In this bowl container are Dusty Miller. These things have absolutely exploded since we planted them last April. They probably increased in size 20-fold. Easy to grow. They don't really flower, but look how nice they feel. If you like that kind of grayish color, it really is easy to grow and fills in real nice. We hope you enjoyed our video. So please like and subscribe. That would help a lot, and we'll make more videos, get more out. We've been kind of lazy the last several months, but here we're back in the saddle again. And here's a little commercial. If you'd like to get our coffee mug with my photography of hummingbirds in my garden, you can get that. There it is, $35. The other side shows a hummingbird on a yellow flowering jasmine. If you look closely, you can see the flower through the wings of the hummingbird there. Of course, our t-shirt, green side up, is being widely received, and if you'd like one, you can have it for $30. The coffee mug is going to be $35. Here's a closer up image of the t-shirt, green side up, showing the roll of sod. It's kind of my tongue-in-cheek effort at helping people with their landscaping and getting it done. So if you like a t-shirt, they're $30. That includes shipping. Just let me know and I'll get one out to you as soon as I can. We want to thank you again for coming today, and we hope you enjoy our video and all of our videos and future videos. And please, please, please do like and subscribe. It helps a lot. And finally, a commercial for my book. A few years ago, I wrote a book called Garden and Landscape Design, a quick start guide. It's designed to give novice homeowners and home gardening, get you pointed in the right direction to design wonderful, low-maintenance gardens that I promise will be the envy of your neighborhood. It's 24 pages, complete with illustrations and citations and a lot of suggestions for future reading, additional reading. But I can send you a PDF copy electronically. They are $6 if you want that. So please let us know in the comments and we'll get that out to you too. So please like and subscribe. And finally, if you know more information about milkweed plants, the Asclepias plants, and if they do exude something after being fed on by monarch larvae that discourages future generations of larvae from feeding, I'd love to know about it. I can't find anything out about that myself, and the closest thing I can find was that article about the African acacia trees being fed on by giraffes, and how they discourage giraffes from feeding on them. So please like, subscribe, stay tuned, and check back with us real soon. Thank you. I'm Dave Perling, and I really appreciate you coming today. Thanks again. Here is my book and its table of contents. When you follow these 5 easy points, your gardens and landscape will pretty much design itself and be the envy of your neighborhood. We promise you. So please order a copy today.